Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to run through some of the things that I've done to try and test Dynamic Foveated rendering in the Pimax Crystal and Flight Simulator 2020. And so far I've had extremely limited success. So I'm going to do several things today. First, I'm going to show you how we enable OPenXR, which you need to have Dynamic Foveated rendering in the Crystal, and it has to be the Matt Buccianeri version, the Pimax OPenXR runtime, because SteamVR doesn't support DFR yet. It's still kind of a beta product. So we'll start Flight Simulator, we'll start the Pimax client, and we'll set everything up for Dynamic Foveated rendering. Then we'll shut everything off and try flying first with no foveated rendering whatsoever enabled in Flight Sim 2020 and see what it does. That'll be our baseline, and then we'll try it with Dynamic Foveated rendering on. Now, I had thought at one point that it might be that I need to recalibrate my eye tracking. So I recalibrated today. And I haven't shut the computer down yet, so the headset is calibrated perfectly as far as eye tracking is concerned, so we don't need to worry about that. Now let's go to device settings. What do we want here? I want eye tracking on. Actually, first I'm going to turn it off. We'll turn eye tracking off. And now we'll go to games. Microsoft New Lips. Microsoft Flight Simulator with foveated rendering off. That looks good. Let's hit start. And make sure that we've got the XR runtime going. It's set for PimaxXR. Oh, and I'm going to turn off eye tracking in that mode. Okay, so now we should have a pretty stock implementation of Flight Simulator 2020 in OPenXR. And my settings are, pretty medium, really. I'm running a 3090 with an i9900 CPU, so it's not an antiquated system, but it's not state-of-the-art anymore. And I've got most settings set at medium in Flight Sim. In the client, I've got render set at 1, which is 100%. I could go down to 0.75, but I thought, well, let's leave it there. And in Flight Sim, I've got most things set to medium, high, and a few things on ultra. I've got clouds turned down, and so on. So everything's set where it's always been, and there was a time a few months back when using these settings, I was getting 45 frames per second in Flight Sim 2020 and OPenXR. I'm not getting that anymore, which is another red flag for me, because I'm not getting the frame rates I used to get playing Flight Sim 2020 normally in OPenXR. So perhaps I shouldn't be astonished that I'm not getting great frame rates using Dynamic Foveated rendering. But whatever my base frame rate is, even if for some strange, ungodly reason I've dropped from 45 frames per second to 30 or 20, I should get 5, 6, 7 frames per second better in Dynamic Foveated rendering. We're going to go to my usual. Boy, I'm having trouble talking today. I hope you'll forgive me. We're going to go to my usual test site, which is Meigs Field, Chicago. Lord, oh Lord, how I wish that field still existed. But to be honest, it wouldn't make any real difference to me, because I never got to fly there when I could fly, and now that I can't fly anymore, I certainly wouldn't be flying there. But still, I feel like it's such a loss, because it's such a nice little field, so close to a beautiful skyline and a marina. Just a really great runway by a really great town. I have some friends in Chicago too. One of these days I'm going to go down and visit them, but I'm kind of scared to travel these days. Getting old and cowardly. Of course, I haven't always been old, but I've always been cowardly. ice water. Need more of that. Okay, it looks like we're just about ready to go. I always make fun of Asobo for taking so long to load, but it's really not that bad. And it does have the side benefit of making IL2 look like a fast-loaded game. So let's see what we've got for frames per second here. I'll turn on VR. Center the headset. And it doesn't automatically check my IPD, but I've got my IPD set for 58, so I'm okay. And I just kind of move the headset around until... Basically, what you do to center your eyes is move it around until you don't see any distortion at the top or the bottom or left or right, or as little as possible. So that's close enough, and my frame rate is 20. Alright, now I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, you probably won't, but I'm going to go into Matt's OPenXR toolkit, and I'm going to make sure that I have, okay, appearance, turbo mode is on, fixed foveating rendering, I got to turn that off, that's what I'm going to do. I don't think it'll make any difference, because we're not using it. We'll leave turbo mode on, because that seems to work pretty well. Now I have to stop VR and start it again. Get the things that I've changed in the OPenXR toolkit to work. And that's right. Make sure I'm on the right screen. That should work. He said hopefully. Yep, there we are. And I'm still getting 17, 19, 20 frames per second. So, and it's not like I've got my settings really high, because as you can see, it's clear, but it's obvious that I've got some settings set down low to make the game run faster, and frankly, the visuals are disappointing compared to what they were before. So let's get out of VR. I mean, before I started fooling around with SteamVR, all of these issues seem to have started the moment I enabled SteamVR. No, I don't know if that's fair. Let's see. Okay, back to flat screen. And every time we do this, we're going to shut Steam. We're going to shut Flight Simulator down and start it again. So I'm sorry, that's going to be a little bit tedious, but we shouldn't have to do it that often. Yes, I do want to continue, but thanks for asking. I do love a polite flight simulator program. Okay, now I know I'm set up for eye tracking. Everything's calibrated. So I don't think I should have to start Microsoft Flight Sim over again. I really don't. I think what I'll have to do is enable foveated rendering in Microsoft Flight Sim in the Pimax client. And I think the greater thing I choose here, minimum, balanced, or maximum, the more of a difference I'll see between what I'm looking at and the images on my periphery in DFR. Let's see if it finds out. We'll apply that. And maybe I do need to start Flight Sim over again. I wonder. Okay, let's just play it safe. We'll go back, we'll quit to the desktop and start Flight Sim over again, just so that I'm comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges. I've been beta testing this headset for a while, and I found if I don't duplicate the conditions exactly, I wind up doubting my results, and I have to go back and do them over again anyway. So let's start Flight Sim over again. And this will be a completely unedited video. I'm not going to expurgate anything. Expurgate? Cut it out? Anyway, every mistake I make, every stumble I make, you're going to hear. I just want you to see the process and understand that I'm neither hiding anything or adding or subtracting anything. I'm just trying to be transparent here in my testing. So you can see how I work with the beta test. And to be fair, I am starting eye tracking behind the curve, because my first headset, as you would know if you've been watching the channel, if you cared enough to, thank you for that. The first headset I got was excellent in every respect except eye tracking. That module part of it didn't work. Pimax techs checked it out for me. They were great. They found out it didn't work. You know, they did everything they could. They checked my headset from the computer, and they, you know, they took it out for dinner. They bought it a drink. And it still doesn't work. So they said, all right, sent me a new one. And so we'll load up this again with foveated rendering enabled in the Pimax Crystal client. And I believe you have to do that to make it work anywhere else. And then once we're into the sim again, I'll enable it in OPenXR. And you know, it could well be that there's just something really stupid I'm doing, because there is no mistake so dumb that I can't make it. But what puzzles me is NVIDIA tells me now, as I look up at the right-hand corner of my screen, that I'm getting 148 frames per second on this screen. But watch what happens as soon as we get into the sim. We'll go back to Merrill C. Meigs Field. We'll hit fly. It shouldn't take as long to load up this time, I hope, because I don't think it flushes all of the data out of the memory. I don't know, maybe it does. I just like to talk about computers as if I understood them once in a while, you know. You know it's not true, but I do like to keep you off balance. Actually, I've been fooling around with computers since 1982. But I can't say that I've really become an expert on code writing or firmware or hardware design or anything like that. I just got used to using them. Okay, we're in the game. I think it's always dangerous to over-represent yourself. And I've got 16 frames per second. All right, I'm going to turn on VR. And we'll go into Matt's OPenXR toolkit again. Now, right now, the OPenXR toolkit is telling me I've got 24 frames per second. A little better than last time, but I'm still not happy with the image quality. Really not happy. So I'm going to turn on upscale and well, no, I'm not, because I didn't have it on last time. But I'm going to turn on foveated rendering, and I think I'll set it to custom. Well, let's try preset. Okay, let's try preset. And now we'll go to exit, and we'll have to exit VR and start again. That's just the way it works. When you make a change in OPenXR toolkit, you've got to restart VR. Don't complain, that's just the way it is. And if it doesn't work for you, you can't say, hey, you forgot. Well, you can't say that. We all do it. So now I've got 24 frames per second. Hmm. 24, 22 frames per second. But the image quality just isn't very good. It really isn't. And that's probably because of the way I've got it set in OPenXR and in Flight Sim 2020. So I'm going to go ahead and Flight Sim. Now that we know I got 4 frames per second more, maybe 5, it may be the dynamic foveated rendering is working. But the performance isn't very good. So let's go into the sim settings. And really I have DLSS super resolution on performance. And that's always going to look crappy. So we'll set it to, let's go the opposite and go to quality. And fidelity, AMX fidelity FX sharpening. I don't know what that does really, but I'm going to I don't think it costs much. in terms of frame rate, but I'm going to turn it down a little bit anyway. Terrain level of detail is set to 175. That's okay. Buildings high. Object level of detail 115. Well, you can set it much higher than that. I'll set it up a little bit. Not much. Apply and save. Go back. None of these settings require me to restart VR. Yeah, it's really no better, and my frame rate now has dropped back down to 21. Let's pause it. And if we go to, let's go to system. I'm in OPenXR Toolkit right now. And my display resolution is set to 2989 at 35:37. So I'm going to set that up there. I'm going to set it up to roughly 3500 by 4100. That's what we'll go to. 3505 by 4148. And that should give me a lot better look. So now we just have to exit. Didn't want to do that. Oh, shoot. Resume there. Now we got to restart VR. Okay. Back and frame rate is down between 17 and 22. And, it looks better, but not a lot better, frankly. Okay, let's get out of VR. I'm really beginning to think there's a problem somewhere between Flight Sim 2020 and OPenXR. Ever since I installed Steam's OPenXR, I've had a lot of issues. So let's go to the main menu. Let's get rid of this here for a minute. And I am going to I'm actually going to shut this down. I want to try running it in SteamXR and see if we get any difference. So let's go to main menu. Oh, I do want to continue. I really do. I want to fix this damn thing. It's driving me nuts. And of course, for me, that's not really a drive. It's more like a short putt. But maybe a little pitch. Little golf joke in there. I always get them in somewhere, don't I? Of course, if you saw me play, you'd know that my golf game's a joke by itself. So, all right, I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to start SteamVR. And we're going to run Flight Sim in SteamVR. Okay. So I'll check on the menu for SteamVR. Go down to Settings. Go down to OPenXR. Right now it's using the Pimax OPenXR runtime, which is what we were using. But I'm going to swap that over. I'm going to set SteamVR as our runtime. There we go. Good. And now I'm going to go here and turn PimaxXR off and run SteamVR. But I'll leave the OPenXR toolkit on because Steam does recognize it. It's one of the API layers that Steam recognizes. Toolkit, neck saver, which I love. We'll talk about that another time. I've done videos on it, and I don't know why everybody who flies via VR doesn't have neck saver for DCS and IL2. And the OPenXR API layer to provide output to OBS is on. We're recording an NVideo's recorder this time, but it's nice to know that it will support OBS. Okay, so that's good. Now I should be able to start it from Pimax and run in SteamVR. XR, rather. Oh, getting old. Or my wife would say, come on, what are you talking about? What do you mean getting? Yeah, I've been old for a while. So we got turn foveated rendering off because it doesn't work with SteamXR anyway. And we'll leave everything else the same. We'll apply, and we'll start. Now this should be a good baseline because it's SteamXR without foveated rendering turned on. Just as our first attempt today was OPenXR from the Pimax OPenXR runtime with foveated rendering turned off. I would expect to see 40-45 frames per second here. But since I installed SteamXR, I am not seeing that. I am not seeing that at all. And the worst part is I'm not sure how to turn SteamXR off. I can switch it to Pimax OPenXR, but I wonder if it would be better just to turn it off before I start PimaxXR. Could my frame rate issues be some sort of conflict between the two runtimes? I don't see how. But then again, as I've already told you, I'm not a programming guru. I'm nothing like Matt Buccianeri or any of those smart guys. I'm just a dumb old teacher and pilot trying to figure out VR and share this great hobby with you. And it is great, isn't it? I can't tell you how much I miss real flying. But OPenXR and VR flying and the way it's improved over the last few years has really, really, brought back the joy of aviation into my life. When I had to stop flying, I didn't even want to play Flight Simulator anymore. I was so discouraged. But now in VR, I enjoy it again. And I can play aerial tourist all over the world, which is just so awesome. Back to Makesfield. I can find out where my VR friends live, like Steve at VR Sim Guy. Fly over his town. I flew over John Lennon's house, at least I think it was John Lennon's house in Liverpool. Certainly flew over his airport. Okay, it's not his airport. It was named after him. And I've flown over some places where I used to live. I even found the house I grew up in, although strangely, even though it's photogrammatic scenery, there's way too many trees. Isn't that crazy? You can hardly see the ground for the trees in my town, photogrammatic or not. Okay, let's go, ready to fly. It's still a really cool experience. And the most fascinating thing is that it's only going to get better. And there are new headsets coming along that will, like the Crystal, give us amazing resolution. The Somnium is one that I hope will come to fruition because the specs on it look wonderful. I don't know what's going to come next from Meta or Meta. I'm not a big fan of those guys, but if they produce a great headset, I'll be all in. And Vario, what are they going to do? I mean, those guys are like the big cheeses as far as I'm concerned when it comes to producing a quality product. So I'd love to see what they do next for a consumer headset, if they think it's worth their while, because they make an awful lot of money, or a good percentage of their money, on commercial and military projects with their really high-end headsets. But don't forget, all this technology is going to get faster and cheaper, and it's only going to get better for the rest of us. So let's just, let's stop talking. You were probably saying that 20 minutes ago. I've got to get my headset unstuck from the joystick. Okay. Well, frames per second. Oh, it won't show me frames per second. Let me see if I can get it in OPenXR Toolkit. Okay, here's a bug. When I'm flying in SteamXR, I cannot see OPenXR Toolkit. I wonder if I can see it on the file screen. Let me just check here. No, it's not showing up. Well, let's see if I can start open. If I don't have FPSVR running, it won't allow me to see SteamXR. Is that not crazy? I'm going to see if I can start it from the Pimax client. I don't think so. We'll try. Never know. Now, how do I turn this off? Okay. Let's go here. Oh no. Something's gone wonky. Oh dear. Yeah, see, it's booted me out of... I'll have to see if my... if I can get me back in to Flight Sim. Well, it wants to launch from here. It doesn't want to go back to it. Okay, that's goofy. See what happens when I try launching it. Oops, nothing good. Okay. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. It's time to get out of VR. Flight Sim. And turn off SteamVR. That may shut down Flight Sim as well. No, it didn't. Okay, let's go back in here and see if I can get back in OPenXR. Every day's a learning experience, isn't it? I mean, let's see if this works. Okay, I'm back in the sim. Nice. But I still don't have OPenXR. Nope. Still don't have OPenXR and I don't have FPS Toolkit. So I have no idea what the frame rate is. So let's... Sorry about this. It's going to be a little longer video than I thought. Let's close VR. I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going to try and start Steam without closing the Flight Sim. Oh, the excitement. I know you're riveted in your seat. You can't tear your eyes away from the screen. Not even to get popcorn. Listen, if you've got to go to the bathroom, do that. If you don't want to miss anything, this kind of excitement you can't buy. Thank God, probably, yeah? Let's try turning FPS VR on. Launch, baby, launch. Minimize Steam. Minimize this. Go back to this. Go to this. Flight Sim. Alright, let's see what we get. And let's turn VR on. If it'll let me. Here we are. And now it's working. See? I enable FPS VR in Steam, and suddenly I have OPenXR working. When OPenXR and FPS VR both agree, I've got 20 frames per second. And the graphics don't look any better at all. So my conclusion is that this has nothing to do with foveated rendering. And probably nothing to do with the Pimax as far as I know. But we've got a serious issue with, for me, listen, let's not extrapolate this. One of the huge problems I have with other YouTubers is that they'll have a problem and they'll say, oh my God, watch out for this. If it's my problem, it must be yours too. Well, Pimax has sold thousands of these headsets. As far as I know, I'm the only one with this problem. let's not extrapolate it. I don't want to minimize it. I mean, it's just as easily some mistake I've made in settings as it is a problem with Pimax or a Sobo or Microsoft. I think the most likely thing is some kind of a weird conflict between Steam OPenXR and Pimax OPenXR. Or maybe something between Steam and a Sobo. I don't know. But hopefully we'll find out as we go along. If you are a software guru and you understand these things, you may be able to watch this video and go, Finn, you stupid old man in a cruel world. This is what the problem is. Write a comment down and we'll fix it. But right now I'm very discouraged with Flight Sim 2020 because you can't fly it at 21 frames per second. It's like playing a board game. And I don't know what happened. Ever since I've installed and started using SteamVR, the performance in Flight Sim 2020 has gone steadily downhill. It's now in the toilet, and I'm scared somebody's going to pull the flush cord. And the other games seem to work okay, but Flight Sim 2020 has gone in the toilet for some reason. At first I thought it was just I didn't have eye tracking enabled properly. But now I think it's a deeper problem. And I guess the next thing to do is solve that. And also test Dynamic Foveated rendering in DCS. I'm pretty sure it works in there. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'm sorry this turned into a longer video than I intended, but I'm going to put it on YouTube absolutely unedited so you can see every stumble, every mistake I've made in speaking, or if I've accidentally said the wrong thing. You know how it is. Sometimes you think you've said one thing and you've said another. So you're going to hear every mistake, every effort I've made, and everything I've tried to do to examine this problem and break it down. And there we are. That's it for this edition. I want to thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it every time you come to watch. I hope you'll subscribe if you haven't already, but if you don't, well, come back again. Maybe hit the like key once in a while, leave a comment, and help me grow the channel. This isn't a for-profit channel. I'm never going to try to make money at it. So I don't feel any obligation to try and sell a product or crap on one for the sake of clicks. I'll always tell you what I think. Never trust a reviewer who stamps his review an honest review. Well, that implies two things. One, nobody else is doing honest reviews, and I think everybody's doing honest reviews for the most part. Or every other review he does isn't honest. So I'm just going to keep trying to tell you the truth as I see it. And when I get new and better evidence, I'll come back, I'll explain it, and I'll delete the video explaining why, as I did with my earliest video on Pimax setup. Alright, anyway, I'm sorry, I've wasted enough of your time with my constant yakking, so let's call it a night, and thank you very much.